Hello beloved souls, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Podcasts channel. This channel is all about good vibes, positive energy, and meaningful conversations. To keep this space welcoming for everyone, we kindly ask that comments stay respectful, kind, and in the spirit of the content shared here. We reserve the right to delete any comments that don't align with this intention. No hard feelings, just protecting the vibe. Thanks for being here and spreading the light. Please be cautious of anyone claiming to represent Spiritual Podcast and asking you for money, donations, or personal information. We will never ask you for money through comments, messages, or DMs. All official updates and content come only from this channel. If you see suspicious activity, please report it immediately. Stay safe and thank you for being part of our community. If you enjoy the video and its content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Please be kind to other viewers of the channel. The video is about to start.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really immersing ourselves in something pretty fascinating. It's a collection of source material that one of you actually submitted.
Yeah, and it offers this, well, truly radical perspective on all the massive global upheaval we're seeing.
Exactly. We're focusing on what many people are calling the Great Monetary Reset, but, and this is the key part, we're coming at it from an angle you probably won't hear about in the financial news.
Not at all. We're talking about the spiritual dimension. The main source we're digging into today is apparently a transcript from something called the Pleiadian High Council.
Right. And for anyone maybe not familiar, the Pleiadian Council, at least in this context, is described as like a group of highly evolved, non-physical beings.
Beings supposedly dedicated to guiding Earth's, well, its ascension. So our mission today, as laid out by this source, is pretty clear. We need to set aside the usual economic analysis completely.
We're putting the spreadsheets away.
We are. We're focusing entirely on their claim, the claim that a deep fundamental shift in human consciousness is the real engine driving all the external changes we see.
Financial, governmental, societal, everything.
Everything. So we have to look at this material as almost like a roadmap for the inner spiritual changes they say are needed right now.
And the material points to a specific catalyst, doesn't it? A sort of starting gun for this whole process.
It does. It claims Earth just went through an incredibly powerful equinox. And this wasn't just, the seasons changing.
More than just fall starting.
Way more. It was described as a major cosmic event. A huge surge of higher frequency light, basically flooding the planet.
And this light, they're saying, is the catalyst, the thing kicking it all off.
It's the trigger, yeah. The source is really adamant about this. These incoming energies, this light, is physically, catalyzing the breakdown of the old systems.
And forcing this great monetary reset.
Exactly. But then right away, they hit us with the central theme, and it just flips the whole script away from banks and, national debts.
Which is the absolute core idea we need to grapple with today. The true currency in what they call the emerging new Earth. It's the energy of awakened consciousness.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because the whole idea of value is being completely turned inward. We've looked at sources talking about crypto or gold-backed, this and that.
Or all external systems.
Right, but this source says even the most perfectly designed external system won't work, it's irrelevant, if the consciousness using it is still stuck in the old ways, the old fear and scarcity mindset.
Okay, let's unpack this concept of consciousness as currency. That completely reframes the whole conversation.
It does.
The Pleiadian Council apparently confirms that, yes, new financial systems and currencies are happening fast externally.
They acknowledge the restructuring, yeah.
But they keep stressing that the real change, the vital part, is the elevation of consciousness that sustains them. So if my inner state is the actual commodity, how is that even tracked or, measured energetically?
Well, the source defines this new currency by its qualities, what it honors. Things like unity, justice, abundance for all.
Okay.
Energetically, they say it's tracked by frequency. Like the coherence and purity of your emotional state, your mental state. Think of it almost like an energetic ledger for your integrity.
So every time I act out of fear or judgment or that feeling of separation, I'm essentially devaluing my own currency.
That's the idea. You're depleting your account, so to speak. But conversely, every choice you make that's rooted in compassion or alignment with truth or unity.
That's a deposit, an energetic deposit.
Exactly. And they claim this mechanism is speeding up dramatically because of this incoming light. The feedback loops, the energetic cause and effect, are becoming almost immediate.
So choosing patience in traffic isn't just about feeling good. It actually, according to this, increases the coherence of my energy field.
That's what they're saying. And that field coherence is supposedly your primary means of attracting resources, real abundance in this emerging new reality. So they're really inviting you, the listener, to look beyond the headlines about banks collapsing or new currencies launching.
And focus on the deeper thing happening inside.
Yeah, focus on the significance of your inner work, because they claim that's what's directly fueling and validating this new reality. It's not just happening to you, you're co-creating it from the inside out.
This leads perfectly into the next big idea, which is inner sovereignty. You know, historically, the old way of thinking, the old paradigm, meant people tended to blame or credit forces outside themselves, right? Like blessings came from a distant god, misfortune from fate, or a demon,
or some shadowy group pulling the strings.
Exactly. But this source material is, well, it's pretty radical on this point.
Utterly. They flat out reject the idea of external forces determining your fate. They state it plainly. There isn't some external divinity handing out rewards and punishments.
Okay, hold on. No external divinity, fine. But they also say no external demon or sabotage. What about all the talk of, negative agendas, deep state, cabals? Things we analyze in other deep dives all the time. Does the council just dismiss all that?
It's more nuanced. They don't necessarily deny the existence of entities or structures operating from fear or control agendas, but they fundamentally reframe their power.
How so?
They claim these external forces, these old structures, only hold power because the collective consciousness gives them power. Through fear, through believing in separation and victimhood.
So it's like we feed them with our own low-frequency energy.
Kinda, yeah. As individuals start to wake up and reclaim their internal power, their sovereignty, the creative energy, which they say is the true mechanism for creating reality, gets pulled back.
Yeah.
Is withdrawn from those external manipulators and reclaimed by the individual.
That's a huge shift in responsibility. If I'm not just a victim of circumstance or waiting for some external force to save me, what does that make me?
It makes you a sovereign being. That's their term. The creative power isn't out there. It resides entirely within you.
And how does that connect back to frequency? You mentioned that earlier.
Frequency is basically the vibration of your core beliefs and emotions. If you deeply believe, maybe unconsciously, that the world is dangerous and resources are scarce.
Your frequency matches that.
Yes, your energy vibrates at that level of scarcity and fear, and so your reality tends to reflect that back to you. But if you can genuinely shift your inner state, your beliefs, to knowing your own power, trusting in abundance, connecting to unity.
Then your frequency changes.
Right. And because frequency is the creative force, your material reality has to shift to align with that new, dominant inner pattern. The results you experience aren't random. They stem directly from the frequencies you hold inside.
Okay, but that sounds like, it sounds like a lot of pressure. If I'm solely responsible for my outcomes, isn't that just blaming the government for, blaming myself when things go wrong? What about things that feel totally out of my control, like a natural disaster or a global pandemic causing shutdowns?
That's a really important point. The source frames it not as pressure, but as joyful responsibility. The liberation comes from realizing you're not a target of external events, but the architect of your response and your internal environment during those events.
So even if the external situation is difficult, my inner state dictates how I navigate it.
Exactly. External events are often collective experiences, sure, but your consciousness, your frequency, determines your trajectory through them. And this leads to that crucial aha moment the source describes.
Which is?
You can have two people in the exact same difficult situation, maybe neighbors during an economic downturn. One prospers, finds unexpected help, keeps their inner peace.
While the other struggles, sinks into despair, maybe loses everything.
Right. If the external conditions were identical, the difference had to be internal. It had to be their consciousness, their frequency.
That makes a disturbing amount of sense, actually.
And they claim this truth, that consciousness directly determines life quality, is becoming super obvious now. As the new earth reveals itself, they say, the old external supports and excuses are dissolving.
Leaving the raw energetic principle exposed.
Pretty much. They're saying this isn't just philosophy anymore, it's the physics of the new reality, and it's accelerating fast.
The implication for you, the listener, is, it's profound. If my consciousness is the currency and I'm the sovereign banker,
then you can stop waiting. Stop feeling like you need some external system or leader to save you. You shed that feeling of victimhood or desperate reliance.
I am essentially waiting for myself to activate my own inner wealth.
And that, they say, is the freedom. embracing that joyful responsibility. Realizing that your inner work isn't selfish navel-gazing, it's the most potent way to create the life you want and contribute to the world you want to see. It turns this massive global shift into a deeply personal, yet cosmically supported spiritual project.
Okay, so if we accept this idea of being sovereign, of consciousness being key,
Yeah.
the next big question is how? How do we actually access that power? How do we move from theory to practice?
Section 2 of the material gets into the mechanics, right? Activating higher consciousness.
It does. And it starts with the council apparently expressing real joy about the growing number of people genuinely dedicated to spiritual growth and inner purification.
That dedication itself is the first step.
It's essential, they say. It's the very action that opens the door to this higher consciousness they talk about. They use different terms for it, the divine self, the Christ consciousness within.
We should probably pause on that term, Christ consciousness. To be clear, is the source linking this to a specific religion, or is it used more universally? Good question. They explicitly define it, not as belonging to any one religion, but as a universal state. It's the vibration of pure, unconditional love, unity, abundance, the foot, the consciousness of the creator or source itself.
And this state resides within everyone, potentially.
Equally within every single person, they claim. This light, this potential, has always been there. They use this lovely analogy, like it's been softly knocking at the door of our hearts all along.
I like that. The light's present, but it needs us to let it in.
Yes, but here's the absolute non-negotiable point they hammer home. Only you can choose to open that door. No one else can do it for you.
Not a guru, not an angel.
Not even the Pleiadian Council themselves, they say. They can offer guidance, maybe nudge you with intuition or synchronicities, but they cannot override your free will. Opening the door is entirely your choice.
Which really underlines that sovereignty piece again.
Absolutely, it's central to the whole process. Your choice matters immensely.
So what does opening the door actually look like? Practically speaking, day to day, what are the actions?
The source gets quite specific here. They list 4 main practices, tangible things you can do, that act as ways of opening that door, of aligning yourself.
Okay, what are they?
First, meditation. Pretty standard, right? But they describe it specifically as quieting the chatter of the ego mind so you can actually hear the wisdom of your soul, your higher self.
Makes sense. Second.
Second is prayer, but maybe not just asking for things, more like consciously setting your intention and focus towards the divine, whatever that means to you. A deliberate connection.
Okay. Meditation, prayer. What's third?
Third is studying spiritual truth, actively seeking out knowledge, wisdom, teachings that reinforce these ideas of unity, sovereignty, love, things that resonate with your soul.
So reading, learning, contemplating.
Exactly. And the fourth one is maybe the most interesting because it's so broad.
Which is
It's basically any moment you spend in conscious alignment with your soul, any moment you deliberately choose to say yes to that divine invitation knocking at the door.
So that could be anything, like just stopping to feel grateful for a minute,
Yep.
or doing something kind without expecting anything back.
Precisely. Or choosing presence and calm instead of getting swept away by anxiety or anger. Each tiny conscious choice like that is an act of opening the door, of stepping into the vibration of this new consciousness currency.
And the result of doing this consistently, of aligning through these practices.
They claim it leads to a profound transformation. When you deliberately make space for this that inner sanctuary, commit to these practices, even imperfectly, that's when the magic happens, as they put it.
What kind of magic?
You start to connect with, to contemplate more of your true higher self. That innate Christ consciousness, that pure love within you, gets activated, starts to flow more strongly.
And this outweighs any distractions we might give up.
They promise the rewards are just immeasurable. They say this inner transformation, this connection, is worth far more than any temporary worldly pleasure or distraction you might sacrifice to make time for it.
But it's not just about carving out specific times for meditation or prayer, is it? The source also talks about being receptive all the time, especially during quiet moments.
Yes, this is crucial for actually integrating all this high-frequency energy they say is flooding the planet from things like that equinox. They really emphasize being aware of the subtle calls of the spirit.
Particularly when it's quiet, like waking up in the middle of the night.
Exactly that. They specifically mention those unexpected moments, like finding yourself awake in the dead stillness of the night and feeling this gentle pull, like to reflect or meditate or just be still.
And we shouldn't just dismiss that as insomnia.
No, they encourage us to see it as a potential invitation, a nudge from our higher self or guides.
Why the night, specifically? What's special about that time, according to the source?
They give a couple of reasons. One, the general noise of the world, collective mental chatter, the stress, the electromagnetic smog is at its lowest. Less interfering.
Okay, that makes sense.
And two, they claim the veil between dimensions is literally thinner then. The planet's own energies are calmer, more receptive, making it easier to receive subtle, higher frequency input, like downloads from your guides or the celestial realms.
So it's like the signal comes through clearer when the static is down.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. They connect this to why people often have vivid dreams, sudden insights, or feelings of profound peace during these quiet hours, especially around significant cosmic events.
And the advice is to respond to these nudges. If you feel called to get up and look at the moon or pray or jot down a thought.
Yes, honor the impulse. Don't just roll over and try to force yourself back to sleep. Stepping outside, sitting quietly, writing it down, whatever feels right.
And honoring these moments can be significant.
Very. They say it often signals that a download of guidance or healing is coming through, something tailored specifically for your next step on your path. Plus, by responding, you strengthen your intuition. You show your guidance team you're listening, you're participating.
So the goal is to make this connection more fluid, more constant, not just something that happens in workshops or meditation groups.
Exactly. Cultivating that receptive awareness so connection becomes your natural state.
This leads us right into section 3. And it tackles something I think a lot of people struggle with, especially if they're trying to bring these practices into a busy life.
Ah, yes, the guilt.
The guilt. You know, you've got family, work, community responsibilities, and taking time for meditation, journaling, maybe a spiritual retreat. It can feel really selfish, like you're neglecting your duties.
I know that feeling well. But the source offers this powerful counter perspective. They call it the blessing multiplier.
The blessing multiplier. Okay, I like the sound of that.
They state quite directly that dedicating time to your inner work is the exact opposite of selfish. It's actually one of the greatest gifts you can possibly offer to everyone around you.
How does that work? How does me sitting quietly meditating become a gift to my family or colleagues? Break down the mechanics of this multiplier.
Okay, so when you commune with your higher self through meditation, prayer, being in nature, whatever works for you, you're essentially plugging yourself into source energy. You're charging your battery, purifying your own frequency.
Okay.
So you leave that sacred time, even if it felt like nothing happened, carrying a higher, more coherent vibration. You come back to your day, your tasks, your family.
But you're different.
You're different. You have dramatically more peace, more patience, better discernment. The energy you absorb during your quiet time doesn't just stay inside you.
It radiates outwards.
Exactly. That's the multiplier effect. So maybe you spend an hour grounding yourself. The benefit isn't just you feeling calmer. It means you're suddenly more loving and patient with your kids when they're having a meltdown.
Or more tolerant of that annoying colleague.
Or you find you're more creative, more effective at solving problems at work. You're bringing the spiritual treasure, the elevated currency of your balanced consciousness back into the world, and it ripples out. It blesses your home, your workplace, your community.
So it completely flips the script on self-sacrifice being the highest virtue.
It really does. The new paradigm, according to this source, suggests that internal fulfillment, becoming charged with source energy, is actually the greatest form of service you can offer, because you then become a source of that higher energy for others.
And sometimes this might mean taking a bigger step back, right? Like a temporary retreat, a spiritual training week, or even just choosing a day alone in nature instead of a social event. That can trigger huge guilt.
Oh, absolutely. Fear of missing out, fear of letting people down. But the source encourages confidence in that silence, in those retreats. They reassure you that the inner work happening during those times is real, it's powerful, it's transformative.
Even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Even then, you're being healed and replenished on deep levels. The effects might only become obvious later, maybe as increased resilience during a crisis or sudden clarity on a problem. So the core message is, never ever feel guilty for time dedicated to your genuine spiritual growth. It benefits everyone in the long run.
It's an investment that pays dividends to the collective.
Beautifully put, yes.
Okay, so from this very personal application, the source then pivots again, connecting this inner work to something much, much bigger.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
They connect it to the fulfillment of ancient prophecy, tying our inner purification directly to, like, the literal reshaping of systems on Earth.
Exactly. It's the intersection of the personal, the spiritual, and the global, the temporal. They reference ancient spiritual texts, prophets who spoke metaphorically about a coming time of great transformation.
And they specifically cite that well-known prophecy. Every valley would be exalted and every mountain made low.
The crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough places plain.
Yeah.
Yes. And they don't just quote it, they offer a specific decoding of what each part means in the context of this great reset right now.
Okay, let's spend some time really digging into this decoding, starting with every valley would be exalted. What does lifting the valleys of powerlessness look like practically today?
So the valleys represent those places of collective consciousness where people felt helpless, oppressed, stuck at the bottom of hierarchies. Think powerlessness, victimhood.
Okay.
The exaltation is the awakening of individual sovereignty. It's people remembering and claiming their own inner creative power as the ultimate force. In practice, we see it everywhere. People suddenly refusing to comply with systems or narratives they intuitively feel are unjust or untrue.
Even if it's risky.
Even if it's risky, they're standing up, speaking out, withdrawing their consent from the old power structures. That's the valley rising. It's the collective saying, no more.
And the flip side, every mountain made low. This is about unjust authority, old systems disintegrating. How does that manifest? Is it like a sudden collapse or more gradual?
According to the source, it can be both, often happening at the same time.
Yeah.
The mountains are those rigid, top-down, fear-based structures. Think outdated governmental systems, controlling financial institutions, monopolies on energy or information.
The old power centers.
Exactly. And this incoming high-frequency light, they claim, is making secrecy and corruption energetically unsustainable. It's increasing the speed of disclosure. So the mountains get lowered first on an energetic level. Meaning their narratives stop working. People stop believing them, stop giving them energy. The fear they rely on loses its grip. Then the physical dismantling follows, maybe through legal challenges, financial insolvency, whistleblowers, massive shifts in public opinion and trust. The foundations crumble.
Okay, that makes sense. Then we have the crooked places shall be made straight. They link this to corruption being rectified by transparency.
Right. The crooked places are all those hidden, deliberately confusing pathways designed to benefit a few at the expense of the many. Think complex financial derivatives nobody understands. Opaque legal loopholes, backroom deals.
Systems built on concealment.
Precisely. The source claims the new frequencies, the light, are fundamentally incompatible with that kind of darkness and concealment. Things are being forced into the open. So the straightening manifests as, well, whistleblowers suddenly having more impact, leaked information spreading like wildfire, maybe new transparent technologies like blockchain making old tricks impossible. Truth comes to light.
And the final piece, the rough places plain or smoothed. What does that refer to?
This points to the most difficult areas of human suffering. The rough terrain of war, deep poverty, chronic disease, systemic injustice. The prophecy suggests these areas will be alleviated, smoothed out, by a powerful infusion of healing, compassion, and new solutions based on unity, not conflict.
So the ultimate result of all this, valleys rising, mountains falling, crooked paths straightened, rough places smoothed, is what?
The restoration of divine balance and order, harmony. The source is clear. The chaos we see now, it's like the necessary demolition phase before a beautiful new building can be constructed. It might look messy, even scary, but it's clearing the ground.
So the glory of the divine, inherent goodness, harmony, justice is being revealed through this process, even if it starts with turmoil.
Exactly. That's the optimistic framework they provide for interpreting everything that's happening globally. They seem utterly convinced that this vision of a renewed Earth isn't just a hope, it's an inevitability unfolding now.
And they use an analogy for how this is starting to show up.
Yeah, a beautiful one.
Yeah.
They say solutions, unexpected blessings, pockets of the new reality are starting to emerge even in the middle of the old world's decay. Like water springing up in desert oases.
Those small pockets of hope.
Small, maybe, but powerful indicators. Local communities shifting to regenerative farming, people creating decentralized networks for mutual support, individuals experiencing profound healing. These oases prove the new way is possible right now, even while the old desert seems vast.
And this momentum, they insist, is unstoppable.
Irreversible, that's the word they use. Even if the old, deep-rooted structures resist fiercely, they ultimately cannot withstand this incoming tide of divine light. The evolutionary trajectory is set.
So even if things look chaotic, The underlying pull is towards this higher frequency.
That's the core message of faith they offer. The world is being renewed step by step, and our collective belief, our vision, our inner consciousness currency, that's what's actively helping to manifest this promised glory.
Okay, this brings us to the final section, section 4. How do we personally navigate all this potentially scary chaos as it unfolds? And the source gives us a pretty significant role to play.
Yes, the hero archetype.
The hero archetype. But first, there's a deep reassurance offered, isn't there?
Absolutely. A reminder that the divine presence, source, God, whatever term resonates, is with you through every challenge. They point out that ancient prophecies never promised an easy ride, no fires, storms, or trials.
They promised you wouldn't be alone in them.
Exactly. They promised you wouldn't be destroyed by them, that you'd pass through. This reframes the suffering. It's not random, meaningless tragedy. It's purposeful, survivable, perhaps even a necessary tempering process for the soul, testing and strengthening your inner frequency.
And they directly address the listener, you, with this title. Heroes of this ascension process, describing us as courageous souls who chose to be here now.
Yes, souls who volunteered to incarnate on Earth at this specific, intense time, precisely to help transform it from the inside out.
That's quite a mantle to take on.
It is. And they acknowledge the sheer difficulty.
Yeah.
They remind these volunteer souls that they essentially signed up for intense lessons, for facing darkness both out there in the world and within themselves, enduring trials that would test faith to the absolute limit.
So the message is, recognize your strength. Recognize that any hardship now is part of the mission you chose.
Exactly. You're here for the final push. You were built for this time of intense transformation. You're uniquely equipped precisely because you chose this assignment. It's a call to remember your purpose and your inherent power.
Now, given the intensity, this incoming light, the systemic shifts in the material gets very practical again, grounding the spiritual in the physical.
Yes, this integration advice is critical because these high-frequency energies can be a lot for the physical body to handle. They talk about avoiding spiritual overwhelm or ascension symptoms.
Which are basically the body trying to cope with the upgrades.
Pretty much. The body is the interface, the vehicle for your consciousness currency, so taking care of it is paramount. And the advice is quite specific.
What are the main things they recommend for physical integration?
Okay, they list 4 key things. 1, grounding yourself. Physically connecting with the earth, walking barefoot on grass or soil, or even just visualizing roots growing from your feet deep into the planet. It stabilizes your energy field.
Okay, grounding. What's next?
2, drinking lots of water. Simple, but crucial. They describe water as essential for cleansing the system and helping the higher frequency light move more easily through your nervous system, like facilitating the body's electrical flow.
Makes sense. 3rd.
3, connecting with nature. Spending time outdoors, consciously appreciating the natural world. They emphasize that Gaia, the spirit of the earth, is herself a powerful ally and a frequency anchor in this process. Nature helps recalibrate us.
Grounding, water, nature. And the 4th.
4, listening intently to your body's needs, really honoring its signals. If you feel exhausted, rest. If you crave certain healthy foods, eat them. If you need silence, take it. Don't push through.
So if I feel completely wiped out after, say, a big energy event or a deep meditation, the spiritual guidance is actually to rest, not to try and push harder.
Precisely. They stress that the body is doing heavy lifting, energetically detoxing old patterns, integrating new frequencies. Honoring its need for sleep, rest, and proper nourishment isn't laziness. It's vital spiritual work. It allows the integration to happen smoothly.
Got it. And the final commitment, the ultimate request to us, the heroes.
To commit fully to your soul path. To consciously choose love, unity, sovereignty, and crucially, to allow everything that's misaligned with that path. Old fears, limiting beliefs, past traumas, unhealthy attachments to be carried away.
Like clearing out the old debris.
Yes. They use the image of it being carried away by the outgoing tide of the old season. It's about surrendering the old limited identity so that your true sovereign self can fully emerge and take the reins.
We've talked a lot about individual sovereignty, individual work, but the source is also clear that we're not doing this alone, right? There's support.
Oh, absolutely. A grand alliance, they call it. This message is meant to banish any feeling of isolation, of fighting this battle single-handedly.
Who's in this alliance?
They confirm the support team is vast. The Pleiadian family themselves, angelic realms, beings referred to as ascended masters, and Gaia, the conscious spirit of our planet, all working together.
A huge network of support.
A massive, multidimensional team, all dedicated to our success, to your success as an individual, and to the ultimate triumph of this new Earth frequency of love and unity.
So if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, the ultimate message seems to be one of deep trust. Trust the process, trust the plan, even when things look utterly chaotic externally.
Exactly. Trust the divine plan. They're essentially affirming that the breakdown is not only necessary, but orchestrated, because the source's original intention, the blueprint for a renewed Earth based on love and justice, was already set. It's irreversible.
We're just witnessing and participating in its manifestation into physical reality.
You're riding the wave, yeah. The wave that's bringing that blueprint into being.
Okay, so just to synthesize everything we've explored in this deep dive today. The source material presents the Great Monetary Reset not primarily as an economic event, but as a fundamental shift. A shift away from relying on external things, systems, gods, saviors.
Right, a shift towards inner sovereignty, where your own consciousness, your frequency, becomes the actual currency, the valuable commodity that shapes your reality.
And this huge shift isn't random. It's being driven, catalyzed by major cosmic events like that powerful equinox influx of light.
Making the true treasure not gold, or digital code, or fiat paper, but the elevated frequency of your own awakened consciousness.
Which then acts as that blessing multiplier, rippling out to benefit the world around you.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for you right now? The sources are incredibly consistent, incredibly firm, that this period of chaos must precede clarity. That the old unjust structure of those mountains are definitely disintegrating because they simply cannot withstand this incoming light.
They're energetically incompatible.
Right. So, given that the source insists the creator's original blueprint, the intention for a unified, just, harmonious world remains eternally present and is now actively manifesting. Here's the final thought to really mull over.
Can you perceive, right now, in the midst of all the turmoil, one specific concrete example? Maybe in finance, maybe in energy, maybe in governance, maybe something small and local, but a tangible example where you can genuinely see the first signs of this irreversible momentum they talk about, where transparency is emerging from secrecy, where justice is starting to replace corruption, where a valley has truly been lifted, or a mountain is tangibly being made low. Look for that first sprout of the new reality pushing through the concrete of the old. What does that look like for you?
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day.